I see a lot of people nowadays talking even more, like more frantically. They're worried and talking about World War III. Well, my question is, why is it necessarily that they're talking? See, this is somewhat that I call silly, because when people are afraid of something, they will constantly focus on it and they will speak about it. They will talk about it as if it's not something that they fear, but it's more like it feels that they kind of revere that and that they would more like welcome it instead. See, many of the new video games, movies, and the such that we get nowadays are usually war related. They're separation related. It's all about fighting something, fighting for a certain cause. And the system only seeks to create more wars, right? It wasn't enough that the first experiment of the pandemic was tested on us. It was just yet another proof of the fact that a war against humanity has always been going on. Then you had the war between Russia and Ukraine. Then you had a war in between Israel and Palestine. But the question is, why have those wars started, right? This state only presents the superficial way through which it deals through all things. If you look even at medicine, they say medicine is so advanced, but when you look at it, it's all about giving you a certain pill or a certain treatment that is astronomically costly, but it doesn't always guarantee you a certain success. And they're telling you that there is no means to to strongly counter cancer. But billionaires probably have their few secrets, and they're not going to share those with you anytime soon, right? This is again part of a group of people's war against humanity. Now, I'm not the kind of person to go as far as claiming things about, reptilians and the such, because I'm not interested in the such. Whatever kinds of aliens exist, well, obviously they do exist. They have obviously been mingling with us more or less, but I don't have any willing to go as far as saying that we are the slaves of some aliens. Because to people who are simple minded, it's obvious that only the places they know and the few people around them are the only ones who exist. Rarely is there anything beyond them. Even when they see things at the news, they can't believe that those are necessarily real because they haven't realized those most likely. So it's easy for simple minded people to discard the idea of aliens, for example, but see, the whole World War III issue is not going to be necessarily a nuclear point. But the state is pointing out the possibility of a nuclear war. But is it their will or their fear of a nuclear war? Because if you look at the likes of Hillary Clinton and all of the corresponding psychopaths in that group of people who wet themselves daily about ruling humanity and what other nonsense of meaning of their own to throw in the face of humans and laugh at all the primitives who simply bow to their ideas as if God in person spoke to them. Well, these people kind of seem to promote the idea of war, hatred, separation, right? And all of these are happening mainly because the old society is crumbling. Have you ever seen any empire that, upon crumbling, it had a very peaceful and soft crumbling? Even Rome was burned many, many times, and who would have thought that the mighty Roman Empire would reach its ends, right? Who would even think that, the mighty American empire would actually be brought to its collapse? Because the whole point of its rulers was to collapse it in the first place. Don't forget, in order to rule the world, you need to create factions to separate people. Rule them through the strongest faction, but create your own in the shadows. When your own is finished, finalized, and ready to take the reins of everyone as if they are the new final heroes who put an end to old wars, right? Well, you have to make sure that the old powers through which you have ruled are going to crumble. Make sure that you're going to crumble those because there are going to be seeds of resistance. This is how you can simply rule humanity, right? And then you present yourself as the one and only God. Why do you think they wanted to use Project Bluebeam to project a certain illusion, a 7D illusion of the so called Jesus Christ or whatever the main religions would want to see in the skies? Now, this definitely feels a bit too far-fetched for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if it would happen, because ultimately this sick society is only reaping the benefits of the separation it has caused. When you create separation, you create misery. Misery is only supported by further separation. So the very simple point is, when you create misery, people will suffer. But when they suffer, if they are part of misery, they will simply seclude themselves, right? And they will start believing all sorts of nonsense. If they are conscious, they will seek to solve their problems. But how many conscious people do you see around? You only see rat racers around, usually. So these rat racers will withdraw in their own little shells and they will seek whatever protection they can get. Typically, most people seek protection of the mind because when you distract yourself enough with the mind, you're free from the responsibilities that you have. Or, well, so you think, right? Because when a lot of people end up in jail, they think they are free from society, but, well, they are in their own cage. Children and teenagers nowadays, they play with their friends online, but they forget that they are in the shells, right? They are in between the walls of their room. They're not enjoying a free life necessarily. They are slaves of a machine that connects them to the other people. They're slowly forgetting to simply connect with others and, well, speak with them and exchange ideas and laugh, right? Play some football or things outside in nature. So this has been a war against humanity, right? All these little wars here and there, they're created by the system, right? Israel knew it would be bombed by Gaza, right? It's not, it's not something of a wonder to us because it's easy to observe. They all want war because they say there's too many people. So to them, they're already defeatist. There's too many people to control. So something that will cause mass deaths kind of is easier and more needed than to preserve societies as they are. Don't be surprised if they'll want another pandemic, right? Don't forget next month they want to sign the treaty which will give WHO full power to handle pandemics and to cancel all states' powers, right, to handle pandemics on their own. So all this war against humanity, see, pops a military war here and there. All those military wars are nothing else but the harvesting of hatred which has bloomed and existed for so long, right? You don't see too many people fight more or less. It is more like an ideological war. People were worried when Iran bombed Israel, but they only did it because the rulership seemed, as of what I heard from different sources, to not care much about their people. So they just launched some random missiles at Israel to show the people that they would theoretically care, right? And they only bombed some irrelevant areas in Israel. They didn't cause any damage or much damage. But that was, again, a provocation because Israel doesn't want to fight. It has literally no chance against the surrounding countries. But it does have, but is in cahoots with many of the Arab leaders, especially Saudi Arabia, because I have a feeling that everything that's gonna come horrible in the world, Saudi Arabia will definitely be one of its sources. And, well, Iran more or less. But they all have their agendas and they all have their own things. And still, finally, they kind of live in their own sort of separation. But that's what you get when you have ignorant leaders who don't care much about the people. Everyone is talking nowadays about democracy, but that means power of the people. Where is the power of the people? Because I only see aristocracy. I only see, authoritarian regimes and people who pose themselves as true leaders and helpers. See, this world's war, right? It's always been a war against humanity. It doesn't matter what creed you have, whatever, right? They all want wars because that's how they can simply still live at the rulership because they know people are waking up and they realize soon that society doesn't, you don't need this sick society. It needs you. So hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You are appreciated. Keep living life. Remember it's a game. Don't let the game play you instead. And well, feel free to view any other content on the channel. Take care, enjoy life, and this being said, Ferencan Board signing out.